Greetings, everyone. Today we celebrate Valor, courage of the human spirit. Valor, past, present, and future. This morning we focus on local connections to valorous actions. Please take a moment to silence your phones. Also note, you may move your chairs if you need to adjust for sight lines or comfort. Please do so. There may be a pause or two due to train noise. We are expecting some airplane noise as well. So if you're presenting or have a excess train noise, we may just pause during that. All right. Today we bridge the decades. We'll boldly, briskly begin. The past speaks to us today. Our first presenter will be reading an excerpt from Eisenhower's inaugural prayer, and that will be read by Mr. Tim Hummert. Tim, please.
If you are able, would you stand and share with me as I read this prayer that Dwight Eisenhower wrote on the night before his inauguration in January 1953. Almighty God, we pray that our concern shall be for all the people, regardless of station, race, or calling. May cooperation be permitted and be the mutual aim of those who, under the concept of our Constitution, hold to differing political beliefs, so that all may work for the good of our beloved country and for thy glory. Amen.
Thank you, Tim. Remain standing if you are able for the next portion of our presentations. And now we will begin by the presentation of colors by our Honor Guard units. And at this time I would like to ask Warren Petrick to come to the mic and will lead us in the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red lamp bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you very much. At this time, I would make a nod to the future, our future. There may be one person here today who will be giving a repeat performance 70 years from now. So now with me is Miss Sienna Yaki to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sienna. Now, please be seated. We look forward to more exciting music. By our Red Wing men's chorus, Rise Up, O Men of God.
Rise up, O men of God, have done with lesser things. Give heart and soul and mind and strength to serve the King of Kings. Rise up, O men, rise up, O men of God. His kingdom tarries long. Bring in the day of brotherhood and end the night of wrong. Rise up, O men, rise up, O men. The church for you doth wait. Her strength unequal to her task. Rise up and make her great. Lift high the cross of Christ, tread where his feet have trod. As brothers of the Son of Man, rise up, O men of God.
Thank you, gentlemen. As I mentioned, we will span the decades, and now a story from over a century ago when local law enforcement's courageous actions saved citizens' lives. Miss Anna Sills, 1907, Acts of Valor. Anna.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. It's an honor for me to present this story to you. Red Wing, January 16th, 1907. The end of watch for James C. Daly and John Peterson, the only two members of the Red Wing Police Department to have died in the line of duty. On January 15th, Red Wing's Daily Republican Eagle boldly proclaimed Chief of Police James Daly and Officer Peterson shot by August Bloom, an escaped lunatic. The most terrible tragedy which has ever been enacted in the annals of Red Wing occurred last evening when August Bloom, an insane barber, shot Chief of Police James Daly and Officer John Peterson. End of quote. Bloom had escaped from officers while he was being transferred to Hastings Asylum. He remained at large for a year. On January the 14th, he returned to Red Wing, whereupon he threatened one of the physicians who had a part in committing him. Bloom secured a room for the night at the Sibley Hotel, now the site of Pernance Auto Service. Chief Daly, along with Officer Peterson, arrived shortly after 9 p.m. Daly asked Bloom how long he had planned to be in town, and he made Bloom aware that he had heard Bloom was threatening people. August Bloom reacted to Chief Daly in an ugly manner. Pulling out a revolver, he opened fire on Chief Daly and Officer Peterson. Both men died of their wounds on January the 16th. Chief James Daly, husband and father of a small boy, was chief of police for 6 years. The chief had an exceptional record. He was big-hearted, a man of sympathy and kindness for the humblest, the poorest, the most unfortunate and unworthy. He remained conscious to the end, his mind clear. He met the issue of death with the same fearlessness with which he met life. He expressed no malice toward the man who would be the cause of his death, only regretting that life couldn't be longer. His final wishes were for his wife and child. Officer John Peterson, a Swedish immigrant, served 14 years as a patrolman. In his final hours, he suffered a great deal of pain and was conscious to the last. He knew death was near, was brave and calm. He was cheerful and conversed with his sons. He bade them to be of good courage no matter what the outcome would be. The end of watch for Officer James Peterson and for Officer Chief Daly and Officer John Peterson was met with valor.
Valor over a century ago. Our next presenter will speak to valor that occurred during the World War II era. Mr. Ernie Stone. Valor often requires extreme personal risk. Now, Ernie Stone, Vulnerable Valor by Ernie Stone. Ernie?
The definition of valor means something to all of us. But one thing I would say for those who actually receive and are recognized for heroism and valor would not accept it to their hearts. They believe that those that served with them were the brave ones. Those who perished alongside them were the brave ones. These are stories that they'd rather not speak and tell of. That's why I have the privilege and opportunity to tell the story that I know my father, Seaman Second Class Wendell William Stone, United States Navy, would not have shared. Shortly after Pearl Harbor, the Japanese Army invaded the Philippine Islands. For 6 months, the soldiers of the Navy, Army, the Philippines, and the Australian military fought against the Japanese. 6 months. On May 6, 1942, there was an unconditional surrender of the United States Navy. This started a tragic, almost, unspeakable journey for them, rightfully known as the Bataan Death March. 65 plus miles were walked through the tropics, no water, no food. They endured. That first week was just the beginning of 3 years, 3 months, and many more days of imprisonment by the Japanese. But the valor that they showed was merely to survive. That defied the Japanese army the most. They survived. They worked for each other and they worked with each other to survive. Many situations that they considered and worked for, risking their lives just to be accused of not quite doing a good job packing down those potholes in the landing strips for the Japanese Air Force. There might have been a few crashes. He was proud of that. He remembered those times. He also remembered the times that when served food, he would be picking the maggots out of the rice, then suddenly realizing they didn't have any food. These are things that they endured, brought strength and character to them. And then the other moments are when a fellow sailor would perish, and they saw their socks, and they would take their socks because they needed them. They later lived to regret that for the rest of their lives. These are things that go through their minds for many, many years. And I would say that I am proud to have had such a strong father raise me, to keep these dark things to himself, and towards the end he unleashed and allowed me to know and understand the capabilities and the horrors of what humans can do, and to realize this, understand it, study it, and become better people. But know this, all these years I've always had this pocket watch to remember my father from. But now, thanks to this committee, this group who has helped change the name of the bridge, this new bridge, what I see is a stitch that brings lives together. I see strong pillars that will build up the community and show that the community works together. But what I see, the Bridge of Valor, I will always see my father, Wendell William Stone, United States Navy retired.
Thank you, Ernie, for sharing those reflections. And Jane, who's our pilot?
Jerry Carpenter,
Jerry Carpenter,
Vietnam veteran pilot.
Vietnam vet pilot. Let's make And again, our men's chorus. Ride the chariot, ride the chariot.
I'm gonna ride in the chariot in the morning, Lord. I'm gonna ride in the chariot in the morning, Lord. I'm getting ready for the judgment day. My Lord, my Lord. I'm gonna ride in the chariot in the morning, Lord. I'm gonna ride in the chariot in the morning, Lord. I'm getting ready for the judgment day. My Lord, my Lord. Are you ready, my brother? I'm waiting for the chariot 'cause I'm ready to go. I'm gonna ride in the chariot in the morning, Lord. I'm gonna ride in the chariot in the morning, Lord. I'm getting ready for the judgment day. My Lord, my Lord. I'm gonna ride in the chariot in the morning, Lord. I'm gonna ride in the chariot in the morning, Lord. I'm getting ready for the judgment day. My Lord, my Lord.
Are you ready, my sister?
Oh, yeah.
Ready for the journey?
Oh, yeah.
Want to see your Jesus?
Oh, yes. I'm waiting for the chariot 'cause I'm ready to go.
I never can forget this day.
Ride in the chariot
about you, but I love lively music in the morning, even better than coffee. Battlefield valor is often displayed by our youngest citizens. 5 young men from Red Wing gave their lives in the Vietnam conflict. Parents and siblings feel loss and carry precious memories. We have now stories of from two of those families. Our first is to be read by a young man. And take a good look at this young man. Now here, some 50 years or more after. This young man is very, very close to the age of some of these soldiers that we'll soon be speaking of. So now, Aidan Johnson, the Lee Kenny story, Aidan Johnson.
Lee was born January 9, 1947, as the first of 5 children. Lee's parents owned and operated a small grocery store and a 3.2 bar in Welsh Township. The greatest generation veterans who served in the various branches of the U.S. military during World War I, World War II, the Korean War, and the early stages of the Vietnam War were always eager to share their experiences. These men and women were held to the highest esteem. Lee relished in those stories and the accounts of each person's valor, and how everyone had each other's backs. As the Vietnam War was in the news more and more in the early 60s, Lee was eager to enlist in the U.S. Marine Corps after graduating in 1966, and take his place among those brave men and women of the previous wars, upholding the freedom and democracy of the United States. In his early high school years, Lee ran the family riding stable with his siblings. Father Leo was a construction worker, spending his summers around the North Country. Most of the hills and nearby acreage belonged to the family. Leo liked horses, and when work took him to the Dakotas, he bought good mounts and shipped them home. The horses got a big welcome from the 5 other children, Lee, Calvin, Colleen, Georgine, and Chuck. There were other animals, cows, Shetland ponies, and minnows in the basement for the fishermen. The older boys were in charge, Cal, the extrovert, and Lee, the quiet one. Lee was a deer and duck hunter, however his greatest pleasure was a jump on one of the back of his horses and explore the hills of Eagleston and Eder. One or more of those adventures resulted in broken bones, with Lee growing impatient in a cast and once removing one with a knife and hammer. At just 10, he secretly and persistently stole into the barn and lowered himself by ropes onto an unbroken stallion until the horse let him stay. Lee and Cal both won honors at state high school rodeos. During these early teenage years, a gentleman by the name of Ben Kern, who authored many a Minnesota story, became acquainted with the Kinney family, and Lee took him on a horseback ride. During that ride through the hills, the view across the Mississippi Valley to Wisconsin and the river bend above Red Wing was magnificent, panoramic, and sparkling. Noticing Lee's appreciation, Mr. Kern took a liking to the quiet one and quizzed him about his future plans. Do you want to go to the city, around the world, or what? Cal wants to do a lot of those things, but I want to raise horses in the hills and get a real ranch going. Lee's family was an important part of his life, and he had plans for increasing the acreage and creating a wild game preserve and sharpening his rodeo skills when he returned from his military duties. His plans included activities for each of his siblings to live and work close together. Father Leo died in the fall of 1962, and Mr. Kern wrote Lee a letter hoping to ease his immense grief. Mr. Kern returned several years later, and not much had changed. The store, the stable, and the horses were as he remembered them. He entered the store, remembered Mother Val and her red hair as she smiled to greet him. She gave an update on the girls, Chuck, Cal being in the Navy, and all the animals. And Lee, he asked. Val burst into tears, saying killed in Vietnam. According to the Kinney family, permission had to be granted to the governor to have the 2 boys in combat. Cal had seen him just the week before it happened. He left the naval ship and visited Lee working a boring job as a supply clerk. Lee had volunteered for a dangerous mission. Don't volunteer for any more, warned Cal. Lee's hitch was almost up. Lee's dangerous mission was with 12 other Marines setting out to support another unit. Upon crossing a bridge and climbing a hill, they were met by 350 of the enemy. In the words of Ben Kern, may his spirit see the beauty through our eyes, and may we see lakes, trees, towns, and river valleys as a boy who only wanted to live among them. Thank you.
Thank you, Aidan, for sharing and reading the Lee County story this morning. Our next story from the Vietnam era, the Gold Star family, speaks to, well, she could not be here today from health reasons, but Michael Lawley's sister has a wonderful story which will now be read by Jane Draskowski. Jane, the Michael Lawley, our brother Michael, by Jane Draskowski.
Good morning. I'm honored to read the words of Joan Kovacs about her fallen brother Michael Lawley. Our brother Michael. Our family is privileged to have our brother Mike remembered and honored today. Our hearts go out to all the families of the persons of valor who are part of this important ceremony. Our gratitude to all of you who have worked to enable this bridge to be named the Eisenhower Bridge of Valor, and for having this day. The Mississippi River and the Eisenhower Bridge were very much a part of Mike's growing up life. He spent many happy hours on or near the water. He crossed the bridge weekly in his 1960s blue VW Beetle on his way to River Falls College, certainly never thinking that one day he'd be honored in this place. Michael Lawley was born in Red Wing, July 22nd, 1949, to Clarence and Harriet Lawley. He was the youngest of 3 children. Michael was a son, a brother, an uncle, a member of St. Joseph's Church, a friend, and a soldier. Mike was a popular musician, a drummer, and he played in 2 local bands, first the Jags and then the Shades. After his death, his band friends staged a memorial concert at the athletic field. Funds were raised to purchase a stereo system for the former Vesa Children's Home and a memorial marker for his Calvary Cemetery grave. Excuse me. Before being drafted in 1969, he enlisted in the Army so he could complete his military obligations, return to Red Wing, marry his fiancée Lori, and on to college on the GI funds. At this time of the war, moving to Canada to evade the draft was a plan for some young men. A family member offered to finance Mike for a similar move. Mike refused and stated that he had to do the right thing and go through with this enlistment. He added that he had to live with this decision for a lifetime. In February of 1970, Mike was sent to Vietnam. He was assigned to a pacification unit and sent to Chu Ly. On May 8th, he was on night duty. There was a late night engagement. One of his military buddies wrote, Mike was a patriotic soldier who gave his life for his country. He was as good a friend as anyone could want. I will never forget him. He is missed and always will be. First class Michael John Lawley was 20 years old. Mike is with us every day in our hearts, says his sister Joan.
Thank you, Jane. And now, the men's chorus with God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love, stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light above. From the mountain to the prairie, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair, as we raise our voices. Pray from the mountain to the prairie, to the ocean white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Indeed, God has blessed this river valley, Wisconsin and Minnesota, with many persons of valor. This morning, as I look and see over 100 or so on the bridge with flags, the fireboats blasting their streams, it truly is a place where valor could occur. Now we move to contemporary events, and this involves a type of courage. You know, it takes courage to run into a large fire. Local fire departments, including our own city of Red Wing. I bring you now Ann Simmerlink, the Caverly Fire, Ann Simmerlink. Ann?
February 13th, 2021, at about 11:30 p.m., we awoke to our home on fire. Within just a few hours, our brand new, beautiful home, the one we hoped for, dreamed of, designed and built all ourselves over the previous 3 years, was gone. This is a tragedy that you as a person, as a family, never think you will go through. It is unimaginable and indescribable. That frigidly cold night is one we will never forget, and we are sure that many of the firefighters on scene never will either. With sub-zero temperatures near 17 below, dozens of firefighters from 7 surrounding departments made sure everyone was safe and well, rescued items of importance from our home, and attempted to put out the fire for several hours. As we sat in our driveway that evening until the early hours of the next morning, we witnessed so much courage from those firefighters. They truly are heroes in all aspects of the word. They never stopped checking on our family to see how we were doing, asking us what we wanted them to go in and find next. Jody's wedding ring, Hudson's hockey equipment, Piper's blanket, and heirloom firearms of Kurt's were a few of our requests. And because of the bravery the firefighters showed, We have all of those items today. It is not unknown that the crews encountered significant difficulties extinguishing the fire due to the extreme outside air temperature of 17 degrees below zero. Neighbors had opened their homes to keep individuals warm, including firefighters needing a break and to warm up. A long, steep, and narrow ice-covered driveway didn't allow for the ladder truck to make it to the scene of the fire. Another difficulty faced was that there are no fire hydrants near our home. Fire tender trucks had to drive to hydrants to fill up and return to the scene, where the crews had a holding tank set up. With the temps so low, the fire crews had to keep the water moving to prevent it from freezing, all the while trying to keep themselves from freezing. So much hard work, knowledge, courage, and dedication to their job was put forth by all involved. Witnessing all that the firefighters did for our family firsthand is so very humbling. Some of those heroes we knew before our fire, some we met the night of and in the time following the fire. Some new friendships and relationships have even been formed from this tragedy, and there are some we may cross on the street in our beautiful little town and never know that they may have been involved that evening and the impact they made on our lives that night. We will forever be thankful for each and every courageous hero who was involved.
Indeed, valor occurs to this day. Now, a few remarks about how grassroots citizenship involvement helped establish the bridge's name by Representative Barb Haley. Barb?
Good morning. Thank you, Al. Thank you to the choir. Thank you to the Honor Guard. Thank you, Jane, for everything you did to plan the event, and for the families that have shared their stories. For 70 years, the bridge spanning the Mississippi River between Red Wing and Hager City carried the name of the 34th President of the United States and the former Supreme Commander of the Allied forces in Europe during World War II. Originally, the bridge was called the Interstate Bridge, and then it was renamed the Hiawatha Bridge before it opened in 1960. After President Eisenhower visited Red Wing to dedicate the bridge, with more than 20,000 people in attendance, and a gentleman I met this morning who said he was here, it was renamed the Eisenhower Memorial Bridge. My involvement in this project actually started in 2017, nearly 5 years ago, when the planning for the new bridge was in process and the local residents began asking about the name for the new bridge. At that time, plans were being discussed to honor the Vietnam veterans as part of the remembrance of the 50th anniversary of the Tet Offensive, the unrelenting assaults by the North Vietnamese during the Vietnam War in 1968. This drew many veterans groups together from both sides of the river, veterans' family members, and in particular, they wanted to honor those 5 young men, and some that you heard about this morning, who were killed in Vietnam. This group of citizens took up the sword to name the bridge in honor of Vietnam veterans. Many meetings were held, and the discussion broadened to include other veterans, Gold Star family members, Purple Heart recipients, police and fire, and other first responders. They included VFW posts from Minnesota and Wisconsin. MnDOT was involved, city leaders were involved, the Office of Government Affairs, and the governor's office, at that time, who was Governor Dayton. When this group came to me, they had done quite a bit of homework, and they had asked me to draft and carry the bill to rename the bridge. Throughout their many meetings and discussions, and through their many, many personal stories that they shared and remembrances of terrible losses, the concept of who to honor expanded. Their purpose grew to honor all veterans, past, present, and future, and also to include first responders and all those who, with selflessness, face grave danger and protect others. Thus, the word valor was submitted as perhaps the perfect addition to this wonderful history of the Eisenhower Bridge. Valor encompassed a way to connect our past, encompass the present, and look towards the future. A way that perhaps we all could connect to, whether we have veterans' stories in our own families, or first responders, or even our own personal issues when facing courage and displaying valor. It was truly an honor for me to advocate for this memorial, the Eisenhower Bridge of Valor. As you all know, it's difficult to get things done in the legislature, and that's not just because of politics. The process of passing new laws is quite messy. We call it sausage making. It starts with reviewing and understanding current statute, and then you have to draft a bill for a new law and move that bill through multiple committees. You have to get it passed in both the House and the Senate. Ultimately, a small bill like this gets part of an omnibus bill, and this was joined with a transportation bill. And then, of course, it needs to be signed by the governor. We rode many ups and downs, Jane at the Capitol testifying in multiple committees, and many members of this committee joined her on those occasions. We also survived a special session to get this bill passed. The bill, House File 548, was first introduced January 31st at the start of that session in 2019, and we were successful in getting it passed and signed by the governor, this time Governor Walz, in June of 2019. I'm so grateful to have been part of this journey. There's lots of things you do in St. Paul, but maybe none that are as personal as this, because of the work that all you did and the stories that you've shared, and the commitment that you all had to do something beyond yourself. And that will stick with me forever. So thank you for today. Thank you for your courage and your own valor. And I hope that in some way, the Eisenhower Bridge of Valor really connects to all of us and all of our own personal stories of things that we will have to face in our lifetime. Thank you very much, Jean.
Thank you for those remarks, Barb. As we grow to near our close, there was a story that couldn't be told, but now it will be. I ask at this time Mr. Greg Cady to approach the lectern for the story that couldn't be told.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm Commander Greg Cady. Isn't this an amazing dedication ceremony? It's just unbelievable. Our bridge is a symbol of unity and appreciation for those who exhibit courage to improve our lives. Speaking of courage, the naming of our bridge and this dedication ceremony would not be possible without the courage and determination of one of our community members. This dedicated citizen is the champion who rallied our communities together to ensure our veterans, past and present, law enforcement, firefighters, first responders, and their families are honored and never forgotten. She worked tirelessly with intense passion. As a result, the Eisenhower Bridge of Valor. If you haven't already noticed, the bridge is filled by support. And our audio expert, Mr. Murphy, ensured that they were part of this ceremony. He has speakers up there so they can hear the ceremony. Bridge members, if you can hear us, raise and wave your flags. Let's go back to our champion. She worked tirelessly with intense passion. She's humble, not wanting any recognition for her efforts. I do have to share that her desire to not be recognized has been a struggle for all those rallying behind her. We witnessed her energy and passion firsthand and know for a fact the naming of the Eisenhower Bridge of Valor is a direct result of her efforts. So, collectively, we decided that by not recognizing her would go against the very meaning of what that bridge represents. Jane Dreskowski. Would you please consider accepting our sincere thank you and appreciation for being the driving force of this monumental initiative? In appreciation, local veterans, past and present, law enforcement, firefighters, and first responders recognize Jane Dreskowski for her dedication, commitment, and courage to honor all who show extreme courage in the face of danger with little regard for themselves. Signed, August 7th, 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I most certainly did not expect this. This journey has been an honor and a privilege, and all of you who I have worked with are most dear to me. Thank every one of you, especially our Gold Star families. Thank you so very much.
I just wanted to add to this a picture of the bill signing with the governor, and many of the Gold Star families were with us that day. And also an official copy of the bill signing by the governor. I have about 30 of these with me today, so any of you that would like one, I'll wait around after, and if there's more, I can get your name and address, and I'll get one for you as well. Thank you, Jane. It's been an honor.
It couldn't be told, but has been told. One item prior to our retiring of colors, we have a proclamation. O ye, o ye. Please rise for a proclamation by Senator Dave Zine of Wisconsin. Is this individual present? Am I come forward at this time for a short proclamation? And then we will retire our colors. Hand up, please. Or we can use the pencils, Mike. Dave Zine.
Absolutely outstanding. Psychologists and physicists say you never let an audience sit more than 20 minutes. They lose up to 90% of the retention. You stole the thunder from me. God bless each and every one of you. Just before I read this proclamation, I got about 45, maybe 50 copies of a letter to editor I wrote about the spiritual transcendence. The hand of God has been on this effort. I mean, the Red Wing community, the American Legion, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, all the citizens, the legislature, for heaven's sakes, you've all made such a difference. And when you read what I got, it makes no sense. Just a couple other things. See all those silent sentinels on top of that bridge that you've already recognized? There's a lot of them that are among us within us, a lot of them that have perished. They're called the prayer warriors, the spiritual transcendents. They're called the citizen soldiers. Those are the EMTs, the soldiers, the military, the firefighters, the law enforcement that have painful memories and they got to struggle. We forget about those individuals. This proclamation, it's a working draft. Veterans of Foreign Wars, for the outstanding leadership, the Red Wing Committee to permanently name the Eisenhower Bridge, to permanently honor military, veterans, first responders, law enforcement, firefighters, EMTs, citizen soldiers, and prayer warriors. You are honoring all through all the efforts you've done. God bless each and every one of you. You are such an inspiration. And where's that Warren Petrie, State Representative the challenge is Wisconsin's got 14 bridges named. I think Wisconsin should name that side of the bridge. They should bring some recognition to the Eisenhower Bridge of Valor. If you agree, give a standing ovation. God bless each and everybody. We're going to redo this. God bless you. Thank you very much. Okay. And we'll pass around those copies. If anybody wants them, just take a picture of them if there's not enough copies. God bless you again.
Thank you for the energy and your own dedication. So please now remain standing. Once again, thanks to all involved. Many are noted on the programs. Others have, we know, and just so many. Let us stand as the colors are retired while the pipes are played. Is that correct, Mike? Are the pipes to be played, the colors retired, and then go forth, reflect upon this day, and enjoy this day. Color guard.